Hello, viewers, and welcome to another exciting show of For Art's Sake. Well, I am a true believer that for every element in nature, there is an instrument that replicates the sound. And for the sound of the wind, we have a very interesting instrument that is called the harmonica. And today we have a very special guest, Mr. Bob Hennessy, and he is a harmonica player. So let's see what he brings to the show tonight. Bob Hennessy is notably a talented, versatile, and very much engaging harmonica player. With over 20 years of experience as an accomplished musician, he surely knows how to entertain us with his harmonica sounds and his hipster personality. His virtuoso playing navigates through diverse musical genres: the blues, American folk, classical, jazz, country, and rock music. Bob's passion for the harmonica transpires through his teachings. He's an educator and promoter of the world of harmonica. His performances are built to amuse and delight our ears at every note he performs. Bob Hennessy is one-of-a-kind harmonica master, and we're thrilled to introduce his artistic ability in For Art's Sake. Bob, welcome to For Art's Sake. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation.
Very nice. Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Well, harmonica is one of those instruments that we don't get to hear as much, and we should, because it's a lovely instrument. So where does the love for harmonica is born?
I ask myself that question a lot because when I think back of how I actually got started, and I tell this story in the World of Harmonica program that I do. So when I was a kid, I was traveling to a school in upstate New York, and I had a stopover in New York City for 2 hours, and I'm walking around like any kid would in the city, right? And I walk by a pawn shop, and I see this beautiful harmonica, just beautiful shiny thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so I go in and I ask the guy, how much is this thing? And he says, I don't know, $2, $4, whatever. I buy it, I take it, I go outside and I play with it a little bit. I take it home and it goes in a drawer and I didn't pick it up for 10 years.
Wow.
So it was like, how 10 years later did I decide to pick it up again?
Anything in specific why you decided in 10 years to start playing?
Well, I was a poet in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And I was renting a room out to a kid downstairs who was a guitar player. And he said, I've heard your poetry, and frankly, if you take this harmonica and start play it with your poetry, maybe it'll sound better. And actually, I think he was right, because I actually started to get some college work. I moved back to the Cape where I'm from. I started a little group with my brothers, and that's how it started.
And how do you start learning how to play a harmonica? Is it a difficult instrument to pick up?
I tell people it's a little bit like piano. It's really a percussive kind of instrument. So you blow into it, you draw air through it, and it makes sound, right?
Okay.
So at that point, you just have to find out where the notes are.
You make it sound so easy.
Yeah, right. But it's almost like a violin, because there are some notes that you bend to get. And you actually have to be able to hear what it is that you're doing.
Okay.
Kind of like a violin,
Okay. Does it require a special trait to be a good harmonica player?
I was going to say you have to have a big mouth, but I'm not so sure that's right. I don't think so. I think like any instrument, you just have to kind of fall in love with it and pursue it.
Mm-hmm. And the harmonica has that thing that is very emotional. Every time I hear the harmonica, it's like I can't separate the person that is playing it with their emotions and the instrument, because it just goes together. I can't visualize it any other way. So what is your preference when you're playing? Do you have a specific genre that you prefer?
I'd have to say no, because I am skilled in some genres more than others, and that's probably because I enjoy them more. But seriously, there are harmonica players in the classical world that are just fabulous players. It's just not my pursuit, but I certainly enjoy and can understand what they're doing. But I think it's the kind of thing where you need to create empathy with yourself and what you're trying to convey.
Okay.
And I think when you find the music or the sounds that really move you, that's what helps to move others.
Okay.
So that's how I find my music and the music that I like to play.
Yes, and you play very well.
Oh, I
very
appreciate
well.
that. Thank you.
And tell us, how did you learn? Did you go for a specific school, or you learn on your own? How was it?
You know, all of those things, but not in a consistent way. So like I initially told you how I first picked it up. Well, you know, when I added it to my poetry, I had to find ways to kind of make a couple of notes fit, you know, and that led to songs. And I typically played the diatonic, which is the little one. And my brother and the bass player wanted to play not just blues, but other kinds of melodic instruments or songs. And the diatonic instrument doesn't necessarily do that for you, so I had to pick up the chromatic instrument. And what that did, it allowed me to play any kind of music.
Okay.
But it was a situation that took me a long time of buying a book, trying to understand what they were communicating. There was no YouTube, you know, and there weren't a lot of other harmonica players, and the ones that were around were very tight-lipped about their secrets, you know?
Yes.
So it's really a self-discovery. And at some point, we got in a Chevy van and went to Florida and found ourselves in Fort Lauderdale for a winter. And during the day, I would go out to the park and I would put it in my mouth and I would just play and play.
In wintertime.
Yeah. So it's, you know, that's how I did it. And of course, as time goes by, I found other people that I could take lessons from or other ways to discover kind of the ways that I wanted to express myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tell us, for those that don't know much about the harmonica, are there different types of harmonica and they all do different type of sounds, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a very wide range of instruments. You know, the diatonic instrument that I describe basically is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. See? That's the basic part of that instrument. But on the low end, it doesn't have all the notes. You actually have to make some of the notes. That's what I was referring about the violin kind of concept.
Okay.
And when you play those notes and you bend those notes, that's kind of the emotion I think that you were inferring. That's kind of what you hear, particularly when it warbles or vibrates or they wah. You know, it gives a lot of kind of voice. It's an instrument that's very close to the voice, or can be.
Okay, so if you play one harmonica, one style, can you do all the others, or not necessarily?
Not necessarily, because when you go from the diatonic to the chromatic, now you have a button like this, so, which is not what you can do on the diatonic, right?
Okay.
So now you're learning a little bit more about the whole keyboard, the white notes and the black notes. When you go beyond that, there's a bass harmonica, which is just a blow harmonica. You can't draw in air. It's just boo, boo,
just
boo,
blowing
boo.
the air out and makes the sound.
Yeah. So what's the song you may have heard? Sanford and Son. Part of Sanford and Son, they use a bass harmonica.
Can you play a piece of it?
No, I can't. One of the kinds of harmonica is the tremolo harmonica, which kind of reminds you of the Swiss Alps. It's kind of, you know, European folk music. And the reeds are detuned a little bit, so they give kind of a tremolo effect.
Okay.
What else? You have a chord harmonica. Usually they're about this long.
I've seen them very
big,
big. Yes.
You know, and I was never tempted to play that because I knew that if I had to go, that I would probably be missing all my teeth, you know. So I didn't. So there's the chord, the bass, the chromatic, the diatonic, and now there's also a MIDI harmonica.
Okay.
So now you plug that in, and you can play whatever sound might be available to you. So there's lots of different varieties, and they all play differently. So just because you play a bass clarinet doesn't mean you can play a regular necessarily.
Sure, I get it. Yes, thank you.
Sure.
So I know you brought some videos. You were kind enough to share some videos of your playing, and I know that the audience can't wait to see them. So can you introduce the first video that we're going to see?
I'm playing at Wequassett Inn in, I guess it's in Harwich, Massachusetts, with Mr. Michael Oakland.
Mike Oakland.
Michael Oakland. It's a beautiful, beautiful song we're playing. I can't remember the name of it, but you'll see it.
Okay, yes. Well, audience, delight yourself with the sound of Bob.
Give a little, take a little, let your poor heart break a little. That's the story, that's the glory of love. Laugh a little, cry just a little. If you had your clothes on back, that's the story, that's the glory of love. As long as they kiss the two of us, you got the world in its charm. When the world is through with us, got each other's arms. Laugh a little, cry a little, let the clouds roll by. That's the story, that's the glory of love. Smile for me, Bob.
So nice.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
find the harmonica to be such a soothing instrument. It just like takes you on a journey,
Nice.
doesn't it?
It does, it does.
Yes. So what were your first influences when you started to practice and learn?
Because we started out doing kind of a blues idiom thing, there was, Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee were really the first two people that really got me excited about that kind of music. And Sonny Terry was really a wonderful player. And these two were actually not a couple in the sense that you may think, but they actually played together for 40 years.
40 years.
Drove crisscross, this country 1,000 times. And Sonny Terry was blind, so he really, his whole life was dependent pretty much on Brownie McGee. And actually, there's somebody I think in Lower Connecticut that actually drove them around for a while. But yeah, quite a story. But from there, it kind of led me on to some other players like Little Walter and James Cotton and even James Montgomery, local guy. But like I said earlier, my brothers, they wanted to play some other interesting music, so they kind of led us into the Mills Brothers, Lambert, Hendrickson, Ross, started to do some jazz things, and so
Very
really
interesting
kind of
players.
expanded,
Yes.
So Earth, Wind, and Fire, I mean, it was like, let's play whatever, So at that point, I really had to kind of develop my skills. So that's kind of forced me to do that.
Good, good. And I had the pleasure to go and see you at the Wethersfield Public Library.
Yes.
And you had your presentation, The World of Harmonica. Very interesting, by the way.
Thank you.
I loved it, and I think everyone loved it over there. They really enjoyed it. And tell us more about it. How did you come up with the idea of doing that? Because it's so interesting, and I think, more people should know about it.
Well, I met a guy maybe 10 years ago online, and he was a harmonica player, and he was really tired of playing in bands and said, I've got to figure out another way to do this. So he got some MIDI files and started to do a solo act all by himself, and then I started to get that idea, and I created something that I do called Bobby and the Gadgets, but that's fine. But my wife came up with this idea, why don't you do something, different kind of, And we said, maybe I could work out something like that. So I did it and actually got my first job at Cromwell Library. And it wasn't as formed as it is now. But from there, just doing it kind of grew the concept. And so really, and she said, why don't you add the PowerPoint presentation to it too, so people have something to look at while you're playing.
Sure.
And now that led me to the history of it and the transition from the very beginning in 1821 to today.
Okay.
And so I give a whole kind of educational experience plus hopefully a nice musical experience about the development of the harmonica and how it all works and some of the health benefits of playing it as well.
Yes, and you play very interesting music.
Well, that's because, when I started playing, they forced me into not just staying in that one genre, try to do more things.
Yeah, I think you played the intro of the Jeffersons. Didn't you? Yes, I think you did, and that's one of my favorite shows.
There's a lot of things that I try to change up, and I know that there was a funny period when I played with my brother where we did just TV music, it was bar stuff, so make people laugh and stuff. But,
well, that's good.
Yeah, it is. It's
That
great.
is what it's all about. And talking about the health benefits of the harmonica, you talked about on your seminar about it. Tell us more, because that is a very, very interesting topic. And again, it should be made available to a lot of people because it's very, very good.
I think that there might be some people in some areas of the country that just discover it because of what might be happening locally. But I kind of discovered it with one of my harmonica heroes, Toots Thielman, who unfortunately he's passed now, but he was well in his 90s when he did pass. But he started out as a guitar player and came down with terrible asthma, wound up in the hospital, and one of his friends brought in a harmonica, and he started to play it, and he became what Quincy Jones said, probably the greatest improviser of ever. And so that really kind of helped him through that. But I belonged to an online forum and soon discovered that there is a Dr. Shaman in Toronto that developed a harmonica specifically for COPD and asthma people. And he did it with, he created this instrument with Seidel, which is a manufacturer in Germany.
Okay, so specific harmonica
harmonica designed for this purpose.
Okay.
But it's not necessary that you go that route. In fact, I did put this in my pocket earlier because I wanted to make sure that I said this correctly. If you go to the www.copdfoundation.org and look up harmonicas for health, there's a lot of information specifically about the instrument and what can be done. And there are programs throughout the nation that actually use this.
For the elderly.
For the elderly, for COPD, for asthma, for a number of different respiratory
good. And I would imagine not only are you healing yourself, but you're enjoying, you're doing music, you are, partnering with others, and, even if you're alone in your house and you're playing, it's touching other areas of your body and your senses. And, I could imagine that it's very, very helpful for overall wellness.
It's a wonderful distraction. Instead of having to be hooked up to a machine and breathe.
That's it.
Now you've got the music, and if you're with a group of people, now that you can create music all together, it's exactly that point. It gives you something really to look forward to.
Yes, yes. Oh, we have to look into that. We have to make it more of an awareness
Absolutely.
for others.
Sure.
So I'll have that in mind. And I know you have another video that you brought to us.
Oh, good.
People want to see more about you.
Okay, great.
We
Let's
can't
watch
get
it.
enough. So tell us about it.
I don't know. Let's find out what it is.
Well, let's find out, and I'm sure it's going to be good stuff for you.
This will be fun.
Wow, so good.
It's a beautiful song, isn't
Yes,
it? I
it
love
is.
that. Mm.
It is. Listen, audience, on a snowy night, you're listening to this music. I encourage everyone to find Bob Hennessy on YouTube. He has many videos, very interesting music, and you'll have a great time while being, with your cup of coffee or hot chocolate. It'll be really nice. Well, Bob, what upcoming shows do you have?
Well, this Friday I'll be on the Cape Cod and
Okay.
Hyannis at the Black Cat.
Okay.
Beautiful place, wonderful time.
Okay.
I have some nursing home gigs that I love to do. I'll be doing those all throughout the year. I've got a World of Harmonica program in Noank Library the 11th of January. Then the 14th of January, I'll be in West Hartford.
Okay.
And I'm doing a new program called Music for Shut-ins.
Ah,
So I can
nice.
do stuff in the home
So you
for
have
people.
a whole agenda
Yes.
ready for us. Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, Bob, it's been a pleasure
Thank you for
having you
having me. It was
here. Thank
wonderful.
you so much. It won't be
Really.
the last time.
It'll be
And
nice.
audience, this is Bob with us, and we are going right now to play a really, really nice song for you. So enjoy. Well, Bob, what do you think about doing a song together?
I would
What
love
do you
that.
have in mind?
How about New York State of Mind?
Sounds very good.
Nice one?
Yes.
Let's
Good choice.
do that. Let's do that.
It's one of my favorite songs. take a holiday from the neighborhood. Hop a flight to Miami Beach or the Hollywood. But I'm taking a Greyhound on the Hudson River line. I'm in New York. I'm in New York, state of mind. Come down to reality, and it's fine with me, 'cause I let it slide. I don't care if it's Chinatown or up on the riverside. I don't have any reasons, I left them all behind. I'm in New York. I'm in New York, state of mind. Take it, Bob. Yes.